Good evening, and welcome to the September 17th Conservation hearing. At this time, I'd like to ask anyone who has electronic devices, phones, to please silence them so they don't ring during the hearing. First on the agenda before Mark is some minutes, and I'm wondering if we can, I would entertain a motion on the August 6th. If anyone has read that.
I have read them and I find them substantially correct, so I make a motion to accept the minutes of August 6th.
Second.
Mrs. Motion, Mary second. Any further comment from the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next we have September 10th. That's one of those phones that I asked about silencing. It's okay. September 10th
We don't
meeting.
have those yet.
We don't have those yet?
Next week.
So we're gonna do that next week. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate that. Next on the agenda, and we are very fortunate to have this presented to us by this young man. This is a discussion of presentation of Mashpee Wildlife Refuge Memorandum of Understanding. I knew I'd mess that up. By Tom Eagle, USF, WS, and Mark Kasperzik. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Commission. Sorry, but Tom Eagle wasn't able to make it tonight for the meeting, so I'm going to be giving you the presentation. This is to sort of formalize the document, hopefully, that we gave you about a month ago that summarizes the Memorandum of Understanding partnership for the Mashpee National Wildlife Refuge. I'll just give you a brief overview. This consists of a partnership between the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation, Mass Division of Fisheries and Wildlife, the town of Mashpee, and the Mashpee Conservation Commission, Falmouth Conservation Commission, the Falmouth Rod and Gun Club, Arenda Wildlife Trust, Mashpee Wampanoag Indian Tribal Council, and the Friends of the Mashpee National Wildlife Refuge. So this whole thing started in 1995 when a lot of people had some vision. They got together to try and create this document where you could have this collaboration of projects going on between federal, state, local agencies to get more work done than you could, individually. So in 1995, there was a memorandum of understanding that was, see, I have trouble too, Tom, that was voted and signed by the town, by the selectmen, and I think the Conservation Commission too, to give the basic framework of what we'd like to accomplish. Now, it's taken a number of years to actually get this to where it is today. In particular, I've been meeting with these the partners for the last 2.5, 3 years. I finally have come up with this document that, we believe that everybody can get a hold of and work together. So, just to go over quickly, these are the boundaries of the refuge that were approved back in 1995. Here's the Mashpee line right here. It goes through and down through the wetland, Washburn Island. So most of the lands are in Mashpee, but there are significant.
Excuse me one moment, Mark. Could you please take the mic with you? That would be just for the viewers at home type of thing. Thank you.
You hear me? Yeah, so most of the lands occur in Mashpee, but there are a significant number in Falmouth also, which includes the Coonamessett River Reservation up there, and most of the lands are in Hatchville area. Along Carrot Shop Road, there's the Allen parcel. Along Hayway Road, there's Hayway Woods parcel, a bunch of other ones in there. Now, the total acreage is about 6,444 acres, within these boundaries of both Mashpee and Falmouth. out of that acreage, about 5,800 is owned by the partners. You know, the rest is owned by private landowners, other government agencies, Cape Cod Beagle Club, Falmouth Ski Club. But the idea is, this memorandum is there to try to, like I said, come up with this partnership to implement these strategies to reduce, the risk of wildfire, for example, to improve emergency access, for vehicles, in very wooded areas, to restore, enhance grassland habitat for the New England cottontail too. And Mashpee has been, has been having a collaborative effort with the state agencies in particular, and been getting a lot of work done. So, Falmouth is really trying to get into the fold now and become more interactive. So again, with the goals for the partnership that we have, the many complementary functions and areas that we have of common interest. So if we can just get together and get this approved, then this opens us up for getting a lot more grants, working with the state and federal agencies. The idea is also to pool equipment. The state in particular has more equipment that would be fundamentally useful for Falmouth and Mashpee. And one other point I wanted to make too is, town council has reviewed this. I know there's always that concern that maybe there's some liabilities involved. And Associate Town Council Pat Harris has had just a few comments which were incorporated into your document, and they're relatively minimal. But just some of the summary comments that she had. So the goal of the MOU is to memorialize an agreement partnership by all parties to cooperate in the protection of open space, water resources, wildlife habitat, and recreational opportunities in the Mashpee National Wildlife Refuge. However, the MOU does not limit, expand, or affect in any way the authority of legal responsibilities of the partner organizations, nor does it impose any financial obligations. So, again, this is a memorandum. There isn't this legal document that we're signing that, well, you have to do this. There's even a clause in there where if the town has, some major issues, they can bow out in 21 days. So, any questions?
Jen?
No, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to let you all know the tremendous amount of work Mark has done with the meetings with the Mashpee National Wildlife Refuge people, and we should thank him. He's done a tremendous amount of work. Mark, you need a vote from the board?
Yes, sir, to approve the...
To approve the MOU, and then we will hopefully be scheduling it before the Board of Selectmen for their concurrent vote as well. Okay?
I could entertain a motion and we could have discussion.
Move to adopt the MOU.
I'll second it.
Okay. Mary?
I was just wondering if there's a way of still submitting some comments and corrections there.
Sure.
Good.
Mario, you got any questions?
No, I don't.
Us? Mike?
Mark, there's no free lunch. What's the downside to this?
Well, I think in this case there is a free lunch because there isn't any, again, there isn't any level of commitment that says, all right, well, if you do this, now you have to spend extra money to get involved to finish a project, for example. One of the things that has happened in Mashpee too, there are certain regulations that the towns have from DPW about use of equipment. So, for example, if Mass Wildlife came down and said, all right, we want to do some projects over on our property and we have the equipment available to do on your property, then the state will do that on their property. If, for example, the state needed to do things on the state property by the town, and the town's employee regulations doesn't allow that, well, then it won't be done. So, there's safeguards there to make sure that
And that's a two-way street. Any of the parties can back out if they're done.
Right, and
Sounds like a fair compromise.
I think, I mean,
Please.
just generically, the purpose of a memorandum of understanding is to put understandings about a desired collaboration on paper. And they typically do not involve things that are controversial, and I think the purpose is to spell out, you know, the areas of collaboration that are intended, and to make sure that everybody has a way to not be drawn into things, keep things uncontroversial.
Anytime you get more than one person in the room, it's an effort, and this was an awful lot of effort. And one of the things, like section K, is to the equipment sharing that you had just briefly discussed. I think that this is exactly is that. You know, it's connecting the dots with other people and making sure there's a conduit for communications and understanding. So,
yeah,
we have
and there are other properties, like I said, private properties in there that, you know, really have nothing to do with, you know, that aren't involved, they just happen to be in that area, you know, it is listed, so it's not like you do things on private people's property either. The studies that are done, you know, for, like I was saying, for grassland or things like that, information is also shared between the group to gain more information and have better ways to, you know, do things. And there's a lot of money saving that's, you know, involved here. And again, Mashpee has already taken advantage of a lot of that, and we'd like to do the same.
Any other discussion on the board? Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions about what we're discussing in this wildlife management memorandum of understanding? Seeing that, I'll call for the vote. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Nice
Thank
job,
you,
Mark.
At this point in time, if there's anyone in the audience that's looking for historical, that is downstairs. They're having a hearing downstairs. If anybody's in for that, this is all conservation. Okay. Well, this is a big thing going on downstairs. I just want to make sure
We
people
want to
are
make sure
aware.
everybody's in the right room.
Okay, after that, we have a request for a continuance under a determination of applicability. 40 Cape Carter Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a 106-foot addition, it's 106 square foot addition, install native mitigation plantings and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance. It has been continued a few times, but they did meet out with staff, Mark, and the new compliance staff member, Alex Brandt, this afternoon to discuss what the issues are. So they are requesting a continuance until September 24th.
And entertain a motion.
At the request of the applicant, I move that the hearing be continued to September 24th.
There's motion, Mario's second. Any other discussion on the board? Is there any discussion from the audience? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next, request for continuance under hearings for a notice of intent. 71 Quashnet Way, Wacoit, Mass. For permission to raise the existing dwelling and construct a new 3-bedroom, single-family house with attached garage, deck, install walkways, a retaining wall, driveway, utilities, native mitigation plantings, remove trees, the existing septic tank, and replace with a 1,500-gallon tank, and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until October 15th.
So moved.
Second.
Russell's motion, Mary's second, and that's October,
15th.
thank you. Any other discussion from the board?
I have a question, and maybe this is not the time, or maybe it is the time, but there's a discrepancy in between the Form 3 and all the other submitted materials versus, in terms of who is the applicant.
Okay.
All these submitted materials say that the applicant is Charles Jacobs, but our notices and agenda say Colleen Parator.
Colleen Petra is the property owner.
Okay.
Charles Jacob is the applicant. I'm assuming it's going through a sale or has been.
So that's not an issue.
No, we'll get a letter from Tom. I was just looking at that and ask him to submit a letter from the property owner.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up. Is there anyone in the audience with any concerns or discussion about that project? All right. Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Next is request for determination of applicability. Charles and Thomas Crane and Josephine DeGive, 39 Juniper Road, Woods Hole, Mass., for permission to install and maintain drainage improvements and road resurfacing that includes installation of a 6x6, 6-foot by 6-foot leaching pit that will be connected to the existing 3 catch basins, patching and preparing the road surface, installing a new surface course of pavement, and the associated excavating, grading, and landscaping.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we are recommending a -2 under the state and the bylaw with the resource area boundaries not confirmed.
So moved.
Mary's motion, Mike's second. Second. Is there any further discussion on the board? Is there any discussion about this project in the audience? Yes, sir. If you could please go up and just identify yourself at the podium.
My name is Steve Riggs, and I'm an abutter to that. And I have a couple of documents here that I think one's from the planning board and one might be from something that happened last year. And I wonder if I could get a clarification from somebody here why they're a little bit different.
We'd be more than happy to give you what we can.
Who would I show them to?
Why don't you show it to the administration, and then,
So did you get an abutter notification for this? 'Cause we have two hearings for Juniper Point Road, so that's why
I got one from, it came from the Homes in the Grant.
Yep, that's for the notice of intent.
this
That's
is,
for a different, this is for this part, the part coming
Street.
down
Okay, that's
Butler
fine.
Street.
Yes.
Okay, so hold your comments and then we can look at the other plan when we look at the other hearing,
Okay.
when we open the other hearing, okay?
Can I ask you about this one right here?
Sure.
What is the obligation to this line right here? Repave existing roadway. What is the obligation behind that? Is the fact that it's written on there, does that mean it will happen?
Raul?
if you can, the engineer will try to address that for you. Go ahead, Raul.
For the record, Raul Lizardi, with the engineers and land surveyors for the applicant. I'll have to look at the plan that was being presented to.
This is a little informal. This is what they call an RDA. So what this is a lesser permit. A negative determination allows, the staff makes a recommendation. A negative determination is what they want to hear. It means that we feel that they don't need a notice of intent for the permitting, that the activities reviewed by staff are adequate and there's no concerns. If there was a positive determination, it would mean that they'd have to come back for a different type of permit. And what's been recommended by staff after reviewing the project is a negative determination, and now Raul is gonna try to settle any of the information that you want.
Yeah, the proposed project in this RDA is for the repaving of the existing roadway within the same limits of the existing pavement. The improvement is there'll be a new surface, a new paved surface, and drainage improvements. Currently, the drainage at the low point discharges to the existing pond. We're now collecting from the 3 catch basins into a leaching pit inside the center part of the pavement. But there is no proposed expansion of pavement to the road. The proposed work is just to repave to the existing edges of Juniper Point Road.
Does that satisfy your inquiry at this time?
Well, in other words, the fact that it's on this plan, that's an obligation that they will meet, that you are agreeing to.
Why don't you,
that they-
Raul, if you'd let him come up, just so he can go to the podium, please?
Something else?
Yes.
Yes, please.
No, yeah, just go up to the podium, you can ask us, but
This line right here, repave existing roadway, is that cast in stone, basically?
Right, this permit will be to permit the repavement from this point up here at Cowdery Road all the way down to the end of Juniper Point Road.
So the fact that it says repave existing roadway, does that mean it will happen as a condition for approval?
That's what we're
Yes.
asking to approve, yes.
yes.
So in other words, when you give them the approval, you are insisting that they repave the road?
That's,
They're saying that the activity is acceptable. They're not saying it's a condition. They're saying the applicant has said this is what they would like to do, and staff and the board are saying, okay, you can go and do this. The applicant could come back and say, we have drainage improvements, we don't want to repave it, we want to make it gravel, and we'd address it like that. This isn't going to be a condition that they repave it. They're asking us to, and we're saying, okay.
I mean,
See.
I'm not arguing against the repaving, I'm just
No.
wondering, is it a commitment by them to do it?
It-
The fact that it's written here.
yes,
Yeah,
yes it is. If it's on the plan and it gets approved by us,
that's what they're
it's a
saying they're going
commitment.
to do.
That's their performance standard at that point in time.
And all the way from Cowdery Road?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Is there any other comments or questions from the audience on this project? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. We have 40 Cape Cod, which was continued to September 24th. And now, we get to do a little reading. This is now going to be on the request for a hearing under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. And I don't think I'll ever memorize that.
Nor should you.
So, first up is 39 Juniper Point Road, Woods Hole, Mass, for permission to install and maintain a fire hydrant and water service lines and valves in Hinckley Road to serve existing buildings at 39 Juniper Road and the associated excavating, grading, and landscaping. Jen, do you have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll save any of my questions or comments until after Raul's presentation.
Thank you, Raul.
For the record, Raul Lizardi from Holmes and McGrath for the engineers and land surveyors for the applicant. The project here is some water services and water hydrant installation at the location of Juniper Point Road. There are two proposed domestic 1-inch water services taps that are going to be installed. This area of the existing roadways are gravel. We're not proposing to change this section of gravel driveways to pavement. What we're doing is just installing two 1-inch water services, plus we're installing a hydrant off of the existing water main. There's no other proposed improvements to the area, just those water improvements. The areas for this project is within developed areas. There is no vegetation that's supposed to be removed. Even the installation of the hydrant, it's in an area that lacks vegetation. And if there's any questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer.
Jen?
No.
Okay. Mario?
No real problems, I just, the notice of intent said that this limited work is gonna be within 100 feet of certain resource areas, including coastal dunes. Am I reading that right?
That is correct.
Maybe I'm reading the plan wrong. It looks as though the main water line might be nicking into a dune in two places. Am I reading that wrong, or?
Well, the existing gravel driveway splits the dunes. The existing water main, it's within the gravel. So there is dunes on either side of that gravel drive. But the water main is not, from what I see on the plan, it's not through the dune. It's within the existing driveways, gravel drives.
Okay.
Mary?
No questions, thank you.
Russ?
No questions.
Mike?
During construction, if it's performed at high tide, it appears it may be below the groundwater? Standing on the wall and looking down, I'm looking at, I was there at high tide and I was looking at the ocean, so.
Yeah, I'm looking at the grades here, the low point, there's an existing catch basin. That low point seems to be elevation 10. The water line is usually 5 feet below, so that would be about elevation 5. That would still be above high groundwaters. The installation of this is gonna be done by the water district, the water department. I don't know what their agenda is, if they're gonna be looking at the water tides to see if they can do it during a low tide, but it's a notice of intent. I'm pretty sure that the town will agree to a condition of such that to be performed during low groundwater periods, so that they don't have to de-water during this installation.
Jen, no problem with putting some conditions on this?
Doing it right now, writing it down. Yeah.
All right, there we go. I'm happy.
Low tide or low water conditions.
Yeah,
Right, there's a difference, because this is
Yeah.
inlet, so
yeah, I'm right on board with you.
Oh, yeah, so low
At this
water.
point, before I open up to the audience, I'd take a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the hearing, take it under advisement.
Second.
It was Russ and Mario. At this point, are there any questions or comments about this project in the audience? If you could just come up to the podium, please.
I'm Ann Meggs Brown, and I live on Juniper Point, quite near where this is going to go in. And my only question or comment is that the hydrant is going into a place that routinely floods when we have storms. So I don't know if this doesn't make any difference, but that roadway during big storms is flooded. Our beach is right there, and the water just comes right up and floods the road. So I just throwing that out, I mean, obviously the engineers must have looked at that situation, and it must not be a concern, but I did wonder about it.
Thank you. Raul, was there any, could you?
yes, if I may. It's not uncommon to have hydrants in areas that flood. Hydrant is just a safety requirement by the water department and the fire department. The fact that the area is within a floodplain is not an issue for the installation of water hydrants. I know that it's the first one in this location, but many other places in town do have them in floodplains.
Yes, we do. Thank you. You more? Are there any other comments from the audience or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. The next is 71 Quashnet, which is continued to October 15th. And now, we have continued request for hearing under notice of intent. This is where I get to do a little disclaimer. My name is Tom Corva. I work for C.H. Newton Builders, and the project that is going to be presented, my company has a division of house maintenance properties, and therefore I'm going to recuse myself, and I am going to,
Are we taking that one out of order, Mr. Chairman?
no? That's right.
162 Saconaset?
That's, oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. I am going to take that out of order.
Okay.
I jumped over on that. And I'm going to go to 16 School Street.
46.
Sorry about that.
46.
See that? I got my glasses off and everything. Hey, I just gave that big spiel. I'm out of here. I'm gonna be in the hall. Mike is gonna be
We're gonna do
vice chair.
Wait,
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do Nemitz.
sure.
I had to take that out of order. I apologize.
Well, this is Elizabeth and Michael Nametz, 46 School Street, Woods Hole. Request to amend the existing order of conditions, DEP 253885, to reduce the garage footprint, remove the existing impervious driveway treads, install a pervious wood chip grass driveway, modification of the proposed plantings and the associated clearing, excavating, and landscaping. Wow.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Homes and McGrath. We're the engineers and land surveyors for the project. I have a few graphics that I would like to hand out to review during my presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. Well, can I have a second? Gave mine to Susan.
The proposed project was approved under an order of condition last year. It was for the construction of a garage. The graphic that I just passed along, the first page shows the proposed garage that was 24 by 24, approved under the order of condition of last year. The new proposed garage is reduced in size from 24 by 24 to 20 by 22. And there was also some granite the tire tracks that were proposed heading to the garage. That is no longer proposed. The area of the driveway to the garage is being proposed as wood chips. Resources on or within 100 feet of this project are land under the ocean, salt marsh, coastal banks, land subject to coastal flooding. And I believe that covers them. If there's any questions, I would like to also include that because of the reduction of impervious surfaces, the mitigation planting is also reduced. So the proposed revisions to this project also revise the proposed mitigations. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Jen?
Raul, your drywall was much closer to the structure on the old plan than it is this one. Can you tell me why? So that proposed, is there any way you can pull that in a bit?
It's not that the drywall is closer. The garage moved forward.
Because it's small, right?
And yeah,
It's smaller
Small.
and moved forward.
so the drywall's in the same place?
No, it's because
No,
it's
not in
smaller.
the same
No,
place.
it's not.
No, it's 2 feet.
Look at the both, look at your color approved one and the proposed one. And if you tell me that that drywall is in the same place,
No, you're right. It's
not.
not.
Is there any way you can tuck it in closer to that, or no?
We can agree to a location closer than the proposed.
Okay.
What about just
Just leave it there?
leave it where they had it on the approved one?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If the structure's small, then just leave the drywall in the previously approved location.
We can agree to that.
Thank you, Ralph. And the only other, staff doesn't actually have any problems with the proposed garage. We do have some concerns on just general maintenance of the area. So Raul, if you could counsel your clients to stop cutting that buffer. It's supposed to grow into mature and full form. We have some photos here of what area I'm talking about on the, I think Mark means the north side. The buffer on the north side is being cut, and there is currently a big area within the mitigation plantings that kind of has a void. It looks like and wasn't replaced, so just look at that. And those are my only comments.
Mary?
No, thank you. No questions.
Mario?
There's still gonna be a reduction in impervious surface from what was originally approved, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And it looks like most of the work is gonna be within an existing lawn.
Yes.
I think it qualifies for amended order conditions.
Russ?
That's a first,
I'm
Raul.
all set, Mr. Chairman.
Mario doesn't like amended orders, that's a first.
Any questions from the audience? Hearing no questions. I'm ready to hear a,
Move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We can go capture our industrious. Let the record show it was impossible for me to screw this one up.
Well,
Nice job, Mike.
it's awesome. Pause for a moment. My apologies for taking things out of order. That was to correct the boo-boo from last week. And I appreciate your patience with that. Next, we have a continued request for hearings under a notice of intent. 162 Sacknesset Road, Falmouth, Mass. Permission to demolish and reconstruct the existing single-family dwelling with an attached garage, porches, patio, pool, house, to modify the pool patio, reduce the tennis court area, remove a brick wall, maintain the existing irrigation system, construct and maintain the proposed wall, steps, fencing, pool equipment, install a new Title V sewage disposal system, restoration, plantings and the associated clearing, excavating, grading, and landscaping. Good evening, Ronald.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Homes and McGrath, engineers and land surveyors for the applicant. With us tonight is actually Mrs. Flynn, the applicant and owner of the property. We have revised the plans for the project based on the comments from the hearing 3 weeks ago. I have some updated graphics that I'd like to hand out.
Thanks, Russ, sorry about that.
One extra one for the record. Thank you.
I mean, that's all. And then they also, has changed this.
I put a list together of the concerns from 3 weeks ago and how we revised the plans to address the concerns. One of the easy concerns from last hearing was the placement of the proposed tree within the thick vegetation. We, of course, revised the plan to relocate the proposed location of that tree. We're still removing that tree on the corner, north corner of the existing pool house. It needs to be removed for the construction to take place. We're replacing it in very close proximity to that same location. Most of the concerns of last time was concerning to the work around and at the pool house, the pool patio, and the pool pad equipment, and the removal and relocation of the existing vegetation that was to be cleared for the construction of this work. There was some proposed planting that was proposed last time within the inside of the fencing of the tennis court. We have revised that proposal. and the relocation of the clearing of vegetation from behind the pool house to around the fence of the pool. So the revisions here, first, we updated the topography on the plans. The topography around the tennis court was represented before from town topography maps. Now we have an actually on-the-ground survey, and we updated that topography. We now have a revised top of coastal bank just along the edge of that tennis court, and with that, the research zones A and B offsets are updated. The pool house size was reduced by 1 foot. Previously, it was proposed at 16-foot width. Now we're proposing a 15-foot wide pool house. The pool patio before was proposed at 13 feet from the edge of the pool to the proposed edge of the pool house. Is being reduced now to 11 feet. With those two changes, the pool house as proposed is being shifted closer to the pool and further away from the existing vegetation behind the pool house. The contractor provided a methodology for the construction of this pool house, where he indicates that a 10-foot setback from the proposed pool house to the limit of work is not necessary for his work the way he's listed the steps for construction. So that has been reduced to what's being proposed now. With these changes, the proposed vegetated area behind the pool house, natural vegetation to be removed for construction from 660 square feet is reduced to 385 feet. Of that 385 feet, we're proposing to replant in place 270 square feet. This still leaves behind 115 square feet that we're proposing to plant on the outside of the tennis court fence. That outside area of the tennis court fence is currently gravel. We are gaining gravel inside the fence of the tennis court by removing pavement. So the outside, we're taking 230 feet to plant it with indigenous plantings. All the mitigation all the replanting plants that we're proposing is indigenous plantings in place for existing natural invasives. We're planting more plants in area than what we're removing. We also want to emphasize that we are not counting the existing brick patio that used to exist before last year around the pool as part of this impervious surfaces comparison from pre and post. I don't think at the last hearing we provided a photograph of that, of what it looked like. I do have a few photographs. I only have one set of this photograph, so I apologize, but you can keep it for the record. These are photographs from January of 2012 and November of 2011 that shows the existing brick patio around the pool house. Not around the pool house, around the pool. We're not counting this area for any of the offsets that we're proposing. Also, the existing pool house does not have dry wells. A big improvement to this pool house is that we are adding a dry well for the roof runoff. The impervious surfaces around the tennis court is being reduced. Gravel is being added to increase drainage, and also planting is being added to reinforce the existing coastal bank around the tennis court. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Raul. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Raul, just to kind of go over what you and I discussed this afternoon, the tennis court currently exists from fence to fence.
Correct.
So the bold line on the plan is the new area of the tennis court?
Correct.
Okay, just want to make that a finding. And although I know you attempted to reduce the size of the pool house, you're you're still clearing 385 square feet in Zone A.
Yes.
I know you're attempting to put that back with 270 square feet, plus you're replacing the tree in that area, so you need to kind of plant around the roots of the tree, give that tree room to grow, so that might reduce that. Staff is still uncomfortable and still does not believe the project meets the performance standards. I mean, it's very clear that any redevelopment in Zone A take place in an area that lacks existing vegetation. So I'm going to take a hard line on that and say that they should keep to the footprint, or at least that back wall of that existing structure. They're still going to have to, you know, put that limit of work there, and I'm not exactly sure, Tom or Russ, if what Mr. Halliday submitted can be done. I mean, can he do that excavated depth of 4 feet?
I'm going to comment on that.
Okay. So those are my comments.
Okay.
I'm still uncomfortable with the clearing of the Zone A to the salt marsh. Oh, and Raul, one more thing, your clients do realize that the board accepts this, that those plantings around the tennis court are gonna, I mean, you can't completely mitigate for the Zone A that you're removing in that area, so we're gonna count part of that, so it's gonna be full and mature form for the
Right.
plants.
But we're not mitigating plantings, we're
So you're just removing Zone A vegetation and not
And-
putting it back?
putting it back on Zone A in a different location.
Yeah, near the tennis court.
Yes, right.
So so that restoration planting is gonna have to not be cut to a height of, okay.
This time it's outside the fence.
Thank
So-
you for that. I was having a big problem with the plants inside that fence. So, those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up to the board. I'm going to start with Mike.
No question, you've done a good job addressing concerns, I think, as best as you can.
Thank you.
Russ?
No, no questions. I'm very glad to see that the restoration planning is moved outside the fence.
Mario?
Am I hearing it's staff's opinion that this still does not meet performance standards?
Correct. That is staff's opinion.
So our hands are tied at this point.
And is there any other comment or questions? You all set? Okay. At this point in time, I'd like to address the construction methodology. It's not often that I have somebody who's willing to put in here, I can be reached at, and give their phone number. That has a lot of merit. It truly does. I think that if, it's very basic and very simple. Where he describes this, I do have a comfort level. Because of the type of machine, we do have the capability to work inside that. We do. Particularly how he stated this, and then the direction that he's doing. It's gonna be a small mini, you know, it's not super detailed because it doesn't have to be. It's just, you know, I'm coming from here and going to there. And then working his way out and looking at the architecturals, which I'm grateful for as well, and showing the step in the foundation on the back grade. That also clears up questions that I had in my mind as well. So, at this point, Mr. Ahmet, if you have a comment.
Thanks. I'm Bob Ahmed, also representing the applicants. I appreciate that the staff's concern, but I do think it's ultimately the commission's decision to decide this case. And I don't think your hands are tied. I think that the board has the flexibility in this case to approve this plan. Yes, the bylaw says that the area of temporary disturbance needs to be completely restored. We think that the first 115 square feet, well, perhaps more than de minimis, is pretty small, and where we have the ability to restore that area. And I don't think that the restoration necessarily has to be in the same location. We're proposing it to be also in Zone A, but actually closer to the salt marsh, right along the top of bank next to the tennis court, in an area that's really more important to remove the gravel and have a better surface to receive water that comes off of the tennis court and isn't controlled the way the dry wells will take care of the water at the house. Raul didn't mention, I don't think tonight, and I want to remind you that this naturally vegetated area, that 115 feet wouldn't be restored in place. That area includes the existing cesspool. The cesspool is going to be abandoned. The new septic system will be entirely outside of jurisdiction. It'll be a Title V system. He didn't mention the area of that brick patio, which was removed last year. It isn't being restored. It's 895 square feet. It's really a very significant area, and no credit has been requested for it. There can be an increase in impervious area even in Zone A. The regulations provide for that. It says no increase of impervious surface that will not support a natural vegetated buffer in Zone A is permitted if the required mitigation cannot be provided in Zone A. You can do work in Zone A. You can increase the impervious area in Zone A. In this case, the area that's not being restored is only 115 feet, and we're putting back 230 feet because that's restoration, not mitigation. Count the 895 feet around the pool, and it's multiples of that 115. I appreciate the staff's problem, but I think the board, the commission, can approve this project, and I hope that you will.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to clarify one of Bob Ament's comments. He just neglected to read the first sentence, or one of the sentences, prior to any increase in impervious surface or pervious surface that will not support vegetation, in his argument that, you can increase in Zone A, that's fine, in an area that lacks natural vegetation. This area does not lack natural vegetation. Oh, well, it does, but he's clearing it to do it, and he's not fully restoring it. So, I'm sorry, I still don't think it meets it. You cannot clear natural vegetation in Zone A.
Well, the new expanded pool house, which is now only 2 feet further out, isn't going to be entirely in the area that's around the back of it now that is clear. Yes, in order to have some more space, it's not where the structure is going to be, but we talk about needing 10 feet around structures. Well, we don't have it in this case. We don't have it now. We're minimizing the disturbance behind it, as Mr. Halliday has proposed, and it can work. And we think that this is a better plan for the clients, obviously, but it's a better plan for the environment because the place we're putting twice as much restoration planting is actually a more important location on this property.
Twice as much, Bob? How? You're clearing
230
385 feet, you're restoring 270 in the actual buffer, and then you're putting 200 and...
There's 115 square feet behind the
In a
pool house
gravel
that,
area next to a tennis court, next to a fence.
well, the gravel's going to come out and the trees are going to be planted, and it's wide enough area around that corner to provide for the plants to grow to their full and natural
Okay.
height.
I don't agree with you, but okay.
Well, that's what the plan shows, and that's what the engineers say.
Thank you. If we have enough information to close the hearing, I'll take a motion.
Move to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Second.
You're in the record, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Just
motion
just
is
one
second.
thing,
Good.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I feel like I need to apologize to Mrs. Flint. When I met her out there a few weeks ago, I guess I was more focused on the water damage within the main structure and the work down at the tennis court. I should have paid more attention to how the pool house was impacting the A zone, and I simply didn't. And I may have given her the wrong impression that I didn't see an overriding problem with the project. And so I'm sorry if I misled you, Mrs. Flynn.
And I appreciate your explanation to them, and that's why we have the hearing, that's why we have everything, all this disclosure is now, and so that we can get these things out and hammered. And that's our process. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion from the audience? Seeing none, I'm gonna call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved.
Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
There'll
Bob.
be within 21 days.
A decision.
Yep. Thank you. What we have now is other business. Discuss removal of pump house at Flax Pond off John Parker Road.
Please.
Yes, you guys have a small structure off of John Parker Road between Flax Pond Bog and Flax Pond that is in complete disrepair. It is being used for after-hour activities. It is the support, what are they, Russ? Support beams, support
Post.
Yeah,
Posts
the
are-
locust posts on the backside
are-
are completely gone.
gone, and it's
So
a
basically,
hazard.
you got a girth going down the middle that's supported, and that's it.
So we've gotten quite a few complaints on this, so I'm asking the board to basically vote to remove it. We have a local contractor that has agreed to file the demo permit on behalf of Concom, and the DPW is ready to go down and look at it with me to see, you know, what we need to remove it from them. They think they can, they don't think they might need a dumpster, but they may be able to put all the debris in a truck, which I think they should be able to, yeah. So,
It's a big
I'm
piece of tool.
asking you to vote to have it removed because it is a hazard.
Yeah, I think it's a liability, big liability too. Shift the weight away from that girth towards the water side, that's gonna go over.
Yeah.
From these colorful descriptions of a piece of poo that we need to get out of here.
Did you go down and look at it, Mike?
I did,
Yeah.
I did. Is there any foreseeable use of a structure at that location? Do we need to preserve our rights to construct a neighbor in the same footprint if we need it?
If you'd like to, that's fine.
Not knowing what we're going to do with it,
Yeah.
and knowing that if we
That's
take it
fine.
away, you may never be able to get it back. I think if we can preserve our rights in the
Okay,
future,
that's
I
fine.
like the idea, and I do like the idea of getting it out of there. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's the first thing, but,
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
that's fine.
Would that be your motion?
that would be my motion.
Okay.
Just one question, Mr. Chairman. No doubt this thing has to be taken out of there. I went inside and I got kind of creeped out, but,
Didn't I
but there's
specifically tell you something?
machinery in there, you know, the old pump turbine and everything. Should we be in any way concerned about any kind of fuel leaking into Flax Pond when they remove that machine?
We'll look at that, I'll look at that when I'm with the DPW guys, and we'll
Yeah.
take measures to make sure that's a, you know,
don't
that
know when the
doesn't
last
time
happen.
was anything.
used. Huh?
There shouldn't be any fuel down there. I thought that was propane, that original,
I don't know, that's why I need to talk to those guys.
yeah.
I, Mario, have not actually gone into the structure, so I don't know.
No,
I think that would address any of the
That would
concerns
just be a big
appropriately.
thank
Just any of those safeguards. Now that we've announced it, we'll make sure that that's
Yeah, we'll
addressed.
just make sure those guys,
Yep.
But thank you for going in there.
I didn't smell any diesel or oil or
Right.
anything, so I don't think so.
Okay, I'll have Mel work on getting the the demo permit from the building department, and hopefully we can get the DPW guys up there next week.
Second.
That's- Mike's, need the motion.
Make a motion to make arrangements to remove the pump house at Flax Pond
reserve our rights.
and preserve our right in
To
the
construct
future
one in
to
the
construct in
future.
the same footprint.
Absolutely.
And Mary seconded that. Okay, any further discussion on the board? Any from the audience on this project? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. We're gonna be voting some orders tonight?
Yeah, we can do Surrey Lane, you'd probably, trust me, you're gonna wanna do this tonight as opposed to next week.
Yes.
So Surrey Lane is the deck and the, oak forums.
Yeah, quorums, I think I'm not on them.
No, it's gonna be Russ.
You must have it.
It's gonna be, that was from last week.
You know what? We're missing John.
We're missing John. We won't be able to do it.
And Edgewater, I think, too.
Yeah, let me go double check. I think we need John.
Outstanding.
We always need John.
Yes, we do.
So I guess we will have to do this next week.
Well,
Yeah, we need John.
seeing as how we're not gonna be able to vote those this evening, the only other motion that I will entertain,
Move to adjourn.
may I have a second?
Well stated.
I'll second that.
Mary's motion, Russell's second.
And Mario gave it an outstanding.
Outstanding. Well, any further discussion? Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstention? Unanimous, so moved. Thank you.
If we knew that this was going to happen, we could have got this done before 8 o'clock.
I'm doing both.